And GM fam, welcome to the first ever live Llama party featuring guests. Haym, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Haym Solomon, Twitter threader, Ethereum researcher, and proud llama.
All right.
Thomas Matamore, I lead the DeFi team at Reserve, a stablecoin company, and big curve fans.
Yeah, this is Tao, and we are the builder for the ETHDenver, and I'm a big curve fan.
And we have a ton of other llamas waiting in the background, so you'll expect to see a few people hopping in and out of the hot seat. We have the Curvans team is here, more people rolling in every second here. So we also have got the Discord chat going live, so if you'd like to participate live, go right ahead, and you can see there's already a few people in the Discord chat. We're kind of listening through this sort of janky setup, so forgive any potential audio issues. Do shout at us if there's any audio issues.
We'll yell back.
Yeah. But mostly, we want to talk about all things crypto, ETHDenver, what's going on. The first thing we want to hear about is the Umami stuff. Are you willing to go on record about the Umami stuff, or are you gonna?
I was not prepared.
Hot seat, let's make it happen.
Yeah, what do you want to know?
How long do you have?
Yeah. Listen, I'm happy to answer questions if people have them, but bottom line is that flywheel article was perfect. Definitely gave a good overview of what happened. I stand behind it as much as you can stand behind any article that you didn't write, but if you want to know what happened, that's what happened, and then jump in with some questions.
All right. So for those who aren't familiar, the situation with Umami was kind of messed up. I'll try and explain it as best I can, and we actually have a few other Umami people here in the background.
Trying to see where they went off.
Yeah,
they go to get food.
They ran away because it was going to be a difficult conversation. Basically, the founder kind of went rogue, started dumping the tokens, started suing all the team.
Yeah. Okay, so I actually don't know if he's suing or just talking about suing, but
threatening to sue the team.
Sorry, I'm just gonna put this down while it's just us talking.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's suing or just making a lot of noise. And I can't really speak to what's going on now, but he just had a disagreement with the team, and it was a situation where everyone else thought he was wrong, and he thought that he was right, and the reaction to that was to dump all of his tokens and run away. And so you believe in DeFi, you believe in DAOs, whatever. I think that Umami is a story of this is just what people want to build, and communities coming together and pushing it forward in the direction that it's supposed to be. Despite the best part about Umami is this is the second time this has happened. First it was Z2O to Umami, and now this is the second major just change of leadership, crazy situation. And so when I look at Umami, hopefully Umami Labs, Umami DAO, Umami DAO Foundation, Umami, so whatever. I'm with the group that has the bots that are still working in the Discord, not the ones that say on strike.
That's awesome. And can you talk a bit about what Umami DAO is doing next in terms of building, any alpha you can leak?
Okay, I know outside of all of the institutional all of the stuff that ended up going real rogue at the end. The next product that everyone was talking about was okay, how do we build an ETH staking product? Umami is always about deriving value from real yield on chain, and that is the realest yield for any Ethereum product. And so I was actually hired a lot to participate in designing that, and I lasted 1 month, and I made 3 decks that it turns out the teams never saw, but whatever. So I think I know for a fact for now nobody's talking about next steps. It's we're shipping the vaults. Maybe this is alpha, maybe it's not. I don't know. They're in private testing. Everyone's super happy with how it's going. It is that is the priority. And then after that, there's no plans. I'm not even sure if anyone knows who's in charge. But what I suggest to them and would love to just help guide or participate or whatever is ETH staking is the future that we should all be building on. Maybe stablecoins is the one thing that's separate that we should be building on as well. But if you believe in Ethereum, you should be looking at like the validator as like the platform you should be building off of, not just the EVM.
Right. Very good, very good. Well,
Yeah.
I've got
Yeah,
like
yeah,
a
let's-
ton more questions, but I want to. That's a
Keep
good
going,
segue
keep going.
into the other killer use case of Ethereum,
Yeah.
stable coins.
Yeah, I
and,
planned that.
Yeah. and the
You're like, I
reserve
don't want to
currency.
talk yeah, so Reserve launched our protocol last week.
Congratulations.
Really exciting.
Hey.
And we, it was really exciting. Our partner launched the first stablecoin on the platform. I don't know where I'm supposed to look here. I should look at you.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Look at the floor.
Yeah. But yeah, our partner Bubblecoin launched EUSD, which is a stablecoin that's backed by Aave USDC, Aave USDT, Compound USDC, and Compound USDT. And it's over collateralized with RSR, which is staked on the particular R token. And all of the revenue for this particular R token, as we call them, which is anything that's launched by the platform, is going to the staked RSR pool in this particular R token. And so, yeah, it's really exciting. We're excited to see what other people build. It's like a really flexible platform that anyone can actually permissionlessly launch a stablecoin that is really, it can be much more than a stablecoin. For instance, it could be a index of ETH staking, liquid LSDs. It could be like an ETF that kind of looks a lot like how people store their wealth around the world, which is what we actually see as the long-term vision of like how money maybe should be stored and used. Like crypto is the first time that actually that can be like stored and fungibly used, like slice by slice. Right. For the next couple years, though, it's probably going to be something that's looking a lot like ETH or looking a lot like the US dollar. Yeah. But you could also launch like a Euro stablecoin. You could launch like a DeFi yield appreciating stablecoin. Which is something that I think could have been really valuable. This is myopic, but over the last 2 years, a lot of what happened was like non-transparent lending. Right. And so like transparent, fully transparent on-chain lending for borrowing or for providing liquidity in AMMs. In theory, that's like a pretty good thing to back a stablecoin and to get a yield on. And so yeah, we're really excited to see what people build. We won't be deploying any R tokens, so if you're an LSD.
Wait, so what's like the most exciting thing that like you guys are talking about that's like possible with like this platform that like wasn't possible when you had to like build every stablecoin from scratch?
Yeah, it's really one of the
Are we
really
yelling loud enough?
Yeah, I'm just checking to see if there's any comments from people. If you can't hear us, give us a shout in the comments.
Yeah.
No, we're good. The Reserve audio team put this all together. They did an amazing job. So we really appreciate like this background makes us look like we're professionals.
No, it's clearly Llamas. So exciting use cases.
Exciting use cases. So I think the number one exciting thing is that it's fully permissionless. And so like the platform actually, we spent a lot of time auditing it because we have no keys. And so anyone can deploy a stablecoin and they can put whatever they want in the basket. We're working with a team that's building the front end. And obviously there's some control over that, but the contracts are fully permissionless. And then once it's launched, the stablecoin itself is fully permissionless. Anyone can mint it. Anyone can always redeem it for the underlying. And so that's like one of the big things that we're excited about. But then in terms of like interesting use cases, the LSD thing is something that we're really interested in.
And so what you're saying, like LSD backed like stablecoin, is that like you put in your LSD into this position, you can mint the stablecoin, and then over time, like kind of self-repaying or something like that.
So it would be something that like tracks the price of ETH or staked ETH. And I think that something that people are going to, especially after the last year, to appreciate a lot more, which is like coming from the traditional finance world, is like diversification. Right? Like, hey, crazy concept, right?
Well, you sound old.
But so we actually had a prototype of the stablecoin version of what we have now. It's called RSV. When we launched it, it was backed by 3 different stablecoins: USDC, the Pax dollar, and True USD. And over the last couple months, as you guys might have noticed, there were some issues with a lot of stablecoins.
What? No.
But like we have over 500,000 customers in Latin America and 30,000 businesses that use our app that's powered by our stablecoin, and they didn't have to know or care about this. We just swapped out the backing,
Nice.
right?
Yeah.
And so that like network effects of money get to continue.
That's the thing that's craziest to me about Reserve is people keep saying, 2023, what's the use case for cryptocurrency? And I'm like, if you just look outside the United States, it's actually huge.
I know.
Like,
Oh my God, Americans don't understand crypto at all.
it's crazy, yeah. Like, because we just go to the ATM, we
Yeah.
swipe our credit
Our
card,
banks
and
work.
it works.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
most of
government
the time,
doesn't steal the money,
Yeah.
for the most
Well,
part.
most of the time. But
yeah.
but actually, that's a good transition to our final guest. So if anyone's watching from China, ni hao.
Ni hao.
It's not a very good time to be watching if you're in China. So we really appreciate.
Go
we
to
have we have a stalwart of the East Asian community here, Tao. Would you like to talk a bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So this is I'm currently still a developer in Amazon, but I'm very like the curve part.
You'll be
And-
Web3 soon enough.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, that's why I'm here.
Yeah.
This is the first time I attend the ETHDenver, then I'm attending for the hackathon. So we are trying to build an NFT Fi project. So we want to rebuild the trust between the NFT creator and the NFT lover. So most of the project, the NFT creator launch a project, then they leave, then they get a big paycheck, then leave, right? Then the NFT lover will check their JPEG and look at the price. It's even less than gas fee.
Yeah.
No liquidity. Then most of the market, like NFT Fi, is for the famous NFT project, right? Like Ape. Then they will provide liquidity. But 99% of NFT project go nothing. So we want to build something using the function of the DeFi. So all the mint money will go to vault to investing on the DeFi project. Then the NFT creator will be getting a loan based on that vault.
Yeah.
So they still stay with the community. Then NFT holder can sell their NFT to get some partial of the token back, like a money back. So it will not be go nothing. If the NFT creator don't continue working on that, people will leave.
Yeah.
Right, with limited loss. So that's kind of the whole concept. I want to hide all the DeFi complex inside of this platform.
Right.
Yeah, because my wife is an artist. She don't want to know all the stuff. What are you doing? Right? Look at all the number and
Probably
check
best
out
not
it.
to talk about crypto in
Yeah,
general.
I don't want
Right?
to talk about it. She said, "Oh, I want to see a great picture, the community." So we'll say
Amazon, and you're becoming a doctor. Like,
exactly. Yeah, that's the whole concept. So we are building. Yeah.
Very cool, very cool. And then talk a bit about like your engagement with like Web3 more generally, because you're like do a lot on Twitter, like you talk with Howie and whatnot. Like
Yeah, exactly. So I'm kind of like new to the whole Curve ecosystem. Probably like 5 months. I starting from Aladdin DAO, then Clever, then Concentrate.
Yeah, cool.
The reason I love is that they are doing exactly what I want.
Yeah.
Right. When I do something, they say, "Oh, they are the tools for me."
Yeah.
And I say, "Oh, it's so convenient."
Yeah,
Then
yeah.
I say, "That's something I want to build. Someone already built it.
Yeah.
They can read my mind, so then I don't have to build it again." So I just continue using. Then I getting involved in the Curve ecosystem more. I have been in the crypto for a long time actually. I mining the BTC before,
Nice.
then
Oh, wow.
all the stuff. Then I didn't catch the Ethereum. I go to another road. I go to the Cardano ecosystem.
Oh,
That's
you're one of those. Okay.
And then because the
Are you
reason
okay?
is I'm okay. I go back. Before it's the gas fee is so expensive. And the first time I tried the
it's
Ethereum
'cause
is a
people wanna use
CryptoKitty.
Okay.
When I get the money and then in the Binance and go to the CryptoKitty, it's so slow, all the stuff. And I'm like, oh no. Then I go back to Binance.
Yeah.
Then I didn't give the Ethereum another time. The Ethereum don't give me the chance. So I missed that one. Then I check a lot of like layer 2 all the projects. Then I feel like Curve is more like the feeling is changing. Before it's like I want the new stuff, right? All the fancy word, all the stuff. Then I feel like Curve is like a fundamental thing. That's the right thing in the long term. That's why I go back to the Curve, even though the gas fee is still expensive. But, but I think I'm doing the right thing. Yeah. So that's my story.
Interesting. So what do we think about gas fees? Is it going to be possible for Ethereum with all of its side chains to become the solution that brings everyone on, like makes Ethereum the master chain for the world?
I mean, yeah, man. Okay, I mean, how galaxy brain do you want me to go on this?
Let's
but,
go full galaxy brain.
Like, I don't know how you guys like understand like this space that we're doing, but like, let's go back to like what Bitcoin is, right? Bitcoin is just like, it is like an accounting program that like, just like does addition and subtraction. But like the thing that's
a 4-function calculator. Right?
Yeah. I need to find a way to make it as trivial as possible, right? Yeah. So like the thing that's interesting about it is we figured out how to run this like one instance of this program across like hundreds and thousands of computers. Mm-hmm. And then in like whatever 2013 when like the drama started and like the next logical step was like we should take it from a 4-function calculator and turn it into a general purpose computer. Right, and then like there's all this stuff about like digital gold and blah blah blah, and then like Vitalik and like the World of Warcraft and blah blah blah, and then like we got Ethereum, right? And so like if you think about what Ethereum is, it's just like general purpose computing, but in this like trustless space. And then like all these other alt L1s come along and like try to capitalize it by basically saying like we can just do Ethereum but faster, but on one computer, and it's just like. The point of Ethereum is that it's slow and that it's safe and that like people can build on it. Whether you're interested in Curve, whether you're interested in building stablecoins, whether you're interested in building NFTs or in like roll-ups or like infrastructure layer stuff. Like Ethereum is like the thing that we all share. It is the world computer.
Right.
It is just like the next evolution of the internet. First we shared like text. Then pictures, then it was social media. Like, do you think we were done after Facebook? Just like UX improvements over and over? It's like, no.
Well, then it became the metaverse.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the hellscape we live in. Yeah. No, it's like the next thing that we're gonna transfer is value, and that's what Ethereum is. And so like, look, I'm not saying Solana's gonna disappear. I'm just saying like, if it survives, it's gonna be a rollout. Like, why would anybody pay for their own security when you can pay like pennies on the dollar to be secured by Ethereum? And so, like, I mean, that's ultimately what it boils down to, is why would you pay for it, unless you're, like, a VC scammer.
We didn't even consider launching on another chain.
Right.
So it's maybe Arbitrum, because, like, it's, you can, you know, like, it's...
We want these things to be censorship resistant for 1,000 years.
There's one choice.
There's one choice. It's also 80% of liquidity.
Yeah. The money believes in it, too.
So it was like a no-brainer.
Yeah. Right, so side question then, do we think the L2s are going to become focused? Like Arbitrum will become the DeFi L2, and we might have an NFT L2. Because like I'm a big Ethereum maxi, but I really hate when I'm trying to do like, maybe I'm going to stake into a curve pool and there's some NFT launch, and all of a sudden gas is spiked to 80,000%. And I try and tell people, this is a superior financial system we're building, where you can't actually use it because people are printing monkey pictures.
What an adult. I don't know, you guys.
I don't have, I won't pretend to be like a ETH scaling expert.
Fair enough.
But
look, something very, very interesting I learned 2 days ago at this conference was there's something called JP Morgan Onyx, I think, something like this, where JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, and like 10 or 12 other global banks are already doing treasury repos with the US government on chain.
On Ethereum.
On the JP Morgan private blockchain.
On JP, yeah.
And so, but like, in the same way that Solana doesn't make sense long term, JP Morgan is eventually just going to have their shit settled to Ethereum. And it'll be through this permission, like, gate, blah, 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 but like
Coinbase's base, maybe.
Exactly, like Coinbase. And so, like, I do think that there's going to be, like, different, like, a couple different L2s. Like, the way the world works is it's, like, always, like, 3 or 4, winner take most, and then like a bunch of other ones that are hyper specialized.
Right.
But like, you know, we're building general purpose computing here. Like, it's L3s and like the web layer is when this stuff starts getting like specialized. Like, really, people are just looking for fast and cheap, like permissionless settlement to Ethereum.
I used the Solana for the first time and was like, whoa, this is actually a much better UI. But
so you're a Solana man.
but now that we're like I'm building on it, it's like, well, what do we prioritize? We prioritize security. And so like at the end of the day, if you're doing anything with money, you're just going to prioritize Ethereum.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I'd be afraid to keep my assets on Solana at the moment, because hasn't all the metrics been down since SBF got arrested?
Yes.
Well, the real scary thing is outages. Because if you have any money in DeFi, an outage for 12 hours while the price of ETH goes down 50%, you'll get liquidated out of all your positions.
Right.
You can't do anything about it.
That was the thing that actually turned me off.
Yeah.
Solana. I was like, oh, I gotta try out the DeFi stuff here.
Yeah.
And then there was an outage, and I was like, what?
Do I still earn staking rewards through the outage or what? That's crazy.
So TradFi has outages every Saturday, Sunday, and evening. So some people are still used to
you're
it.
a peon. You don't have to worry about that. You get little credit cards. You can spend your little money, buy your little groceries.
Yeah, as long as I can. Excellent.
Should we get the Curvans?
Yeah, this is a great time to bring the Curvans.
I keep saying Curvans.
Curvans? I don't actually know. Yeah. So why don't you rotate in for a second so we can talk about the Curvans and everything going on with that. But thank you so much, and we'll have you back. It's open hot seats rotation. No, you're good. You're good.
So we actually kind of want to jump into this conversation.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, excellent. So we have the experts here. So first of all,
are we still keeping this off Discord? I'll keep this quiet.
Oh man,
the echo's real bad. If we.
Yeah, Discord people, just give us a shout if you want on the chat.
How about, we'll do intros, we'll finish up this conversation, then maybe open it up for
we'll do
Discord
a
people.
Q&A for the Discord people in a minute. But tell us a bit about yourselves, Curvans,
Sure.
how it's pronounced.
I could
It's on
start.
the internet, so you don't have to say it.
There we go.
It's Curvans, but
Okay.
There we go. Alpha
however you
link.
want it.
Potato.
Okay.
The name was pretty low effort, actually.
Yeah.
It started from curve and advance, an advanced loan, and
Oh.
I just slapped them
new.
together.
Yeah,
and
see?
it stuck,
The alpha
so-
keeps dropping.
It just stuck. But I'm Easy Bake on Discord, so I'm the founder. This is my co-founder Chris and CTO. He's awesome.
Glad you knew about the blue suit dress code, which I violated.
Yeah, I brought one nice outfit, and I randomly decided today to wear it, and then you guys were like, do you want to go to live stream? I was like, all right, perfect timing.
There you go.
Psychic, sense. But yeah, I go by My online, or Chris is my real name, as Mike said. But we've been working on Curvans for a long time now. I jumped on in May. Mike started it really in January of last year, and with kind of the fallout of Luna and FTX and stuff, we really kind of took some time to be like, why don't we, rather than trying to rush to market and get a product out there, let's really take a step back and build the best thing we can. So it's gone through a lot of iterations. What started as kind of just something that would be on Ethereum and just tie into a few different flywheels. Now it's kind of this omni-chain model. Even looking at some of these things staked ETH, as you were talking about, even some of these things like Eigenlayer and different flywheels, Velodrome and Camelot and all these different things that are popping up. We really try to design everything to be modular, because we don't really know what the future is going to bring, right? There could be some massive roll-up in 2 years that takes over.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, and now suddenly we have to okay, you guys have to withdraw all your stuff, we're doing a new token, blah, 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 blah. So, we basically designed everything from scratch rather than forking really any code. We used Compound's lending market as a base and really followed that out, but everything else is, so we start with a blank, Solidity document and just started building, so we built this omni-chain framework, this omni-chain gauge where you can take your tokens and vote for pools on whatever chain is supported, and you basically have ETH as this canonical chain. You're talking about, why would you build anywhere else but ETH? So we use ETH as our canonical chain, and then every epoch it, communicates with all these different roll-ups, basically communicating state, how many tokens are locked, how many tokens, do we want to give this chain per epoch, what Ethereum from fees do they get, these different types of things. So yeah, I'm 100% in agreement with you about this thing before.
You said you wanted to jump in, and I was like, oh God, did I just...
No, I totally agree. When you look at the security budget, ETH, it really has the best security in the game, and you could, make a lot of arguments proof of stake versus proof of work, but I think it's one of those things. The biggest thing to me is that it's actively developed, and everyone's looking at how to collaborate to make the best, environment for everyone. So it's I think it's really good right now, but I can hardly imagine how good it's going to be in 10 years, right? 15 years, 20 years. Now, of course, maybe decades from now, some new chain will, unseat Ethereum or whatever. No, never.
I just don't have
It's
it.
like,
All right.
you're gonna be like walking around with a cane on Ethereum, like version
No,
17.
on my yacht.
No, I actually agree. I think with Eigenlayer, especially like things like Solana, different consensus mechanisms have their place in their use case, right? Like you can't do super complex data functions or like real-time IoT reporting with Ethereum. It's too costly, a little bit too slow. But you can create these like L1s with different consensus or different languages that can do that and function it. And then with Eigenlayer and these different services, you can basically pay for the security of Ethereum behind that. So that to me is like the next layer. And like hearing those guys talk and kind of chatting with their team a little bit, I think it's pushing our product for like our like future state around these LSDs and like the stake ETH. I think post Shanghai, we're really going to start seeing people really seeking the highest APR, right, like behind their actual Ethereum validators. And Eigen's going to create like such a crazy situation where like, okay, you have Lido as a reward layer, right? You have Rocket Pool, you have Frax, but now you can like do those as well as a user, get that interest rate, but then also be selling security through Eigen to Solana, right?
Yeah.
And now you're getting that whole additional yield there.
Right.
So I think Curvance is really well positioned to kind of like help, kind of mature that market in terms of creating like an ecosystem where people can basically bid for security via emissions and such. Because we plan on supporting, not only the liquidity profiles for these LSDs, like, if you have your LP tokens for Lido, like STE, then Frax and Rocket Pool and all these different entrants, so they could fight to have like deep liquidity on these different networks, which will change post Shanghai, of course. But also like bidding for security, like these different, if we do have Solana or Sui or any of these networks really kind of try to, piggyback off of security, what better place to bid than like, kind of like a gauge style emission framework that kind of aims for capital efficiency, right? Like,
Could you give the brief elevator pitch of Curvance, by the way, in case people aren't familiar?
Yeah, so, and feel free to jump in at any time, Mike, but essentially, we see like an opportunity with all these different flywheels that, have really vibrant ecosystems, but there's no real kind of, way to link them all. We've essentially created like a yield optimized framework where, everyone, very similar to, kind of these auto compounders that you've seen with things like Beefy, and tying that in for maximum capital efficiency. So, positions that have, my background is in traditional finance with kind of minimizing slippage and, kind of how to route orders and such. So that's like a big focus of mine. So, we want to have kind of a lending market component, but we can't support everything as a, collateralized asset. And even if we can, there's going to have to be certain constraints. So that's something we're looking at. But in theory, in practice, you can have, a position that's generating yield. We call them long tail assets that you hold for a long time, like stake ETH, like these LP tokens and such. And then you could essentially borrow against those positions. So you could then deploy those stable coins elsewhere, on a different network and a different flywheel. Or you could, if you have very high conviction, or a team that, wants deep liquidity on a pair, you could kind of basically go for like an even larger position. You put in $1 million, you borrow 600,000 USDC, and then you kind of, say split that into 300,000 USDC and whatever token it's paired with, and now you have a $1.6 million, LP. And of course, for very volatile assets, we might, not support collateralizing them, because, you do have to have the potential to liquidate them. So yeah, basically, yield, efficiency, capital efficiency, and then also kind of tying together multiple roll-ups. So one of the things that was really important to me was basically having people be able to lock their tokens on any network and basically then choose where that power, is kind of given. So if you have tokens, VECV locked on Ethereum, and you're a project and you want to incentivize liquidity on Optimism, just vote for your pool on Velodrome. It doesn't matter that your tokens are on ETH. You could vote for them anywhere. So we're kind of trying to be thoughtful, like trying to design a product that we personally would want to use, and we're constantly asking for feedback, from all of our partners, anyone that's like excited or interested in the protocol. So we're constantly trying to be thoughtful and we're trying to improve it day by day.
That's great. When are you going to launch? Before or after CurveUSD?
Well, that's a good question. So
Yeah, we don't know when they're launching exactly.
We're probably 2-3 weeks away from starting like integration testing.
Oh wow.
Post ETHDenver. I'm not coding right now.
Fair enough. Not tomorrow.
Yeah. And then after that, we've been doing this guild.xyz stuff in the Discord. You might have seen it. We posted like a DGen Score Cafe thing, and we're kind of getting people signed up. And we're gonna do like a private beta when we post the code for Arena Audit. So that'll be kind of like the first stage of going live, right? It's just a lot of bug testing, a lot of first pass auditing, getting a lot of eyes on the code.
Yeah, kind of the idea with that is, we obviously the two main protocols, at least in my experience, that really have the most kind of black hat eyes on them are bridges and lending markets, right? So that makes us potential targets. So we want to be, and we're introducing a lot of new tech, right? Like a lot of the stuff that we built is from scratch. So it's not like we didn't fork something that's been battle tested for 5 years, or 3 years or whatever. So we want to take it slow. So
So you're
like
not just
Mike
gnome
said,
fork is what you're saying.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
it's a shame we could.
Yeah, that would have been a lot faster. For sure. But kind of the idea is we're gonna do like a very small like test net on Sepolia, with very isolated, like just Ethereum, like just one network, no omni-chain setup, just like one flywheel, see how that works. And in parallel, also go through all our audits. We're going through multiple audits. We're going to use Code for Arena and then one or two other, either through partners, like having partners review everything, as well as maybe some like kind of battle tested auditors that have a good track record.
If you want to raise the stakes, you can deploy in Gorilli, because Gorilli ETH is now
it's
has
real
value,
assets.
so
Yeah,
it's
that's
real
true.
money at play if you deploy to Gorilli.
I didn't even think of that yet. Oh no. It's like $20,000 hack.
Yeah. Biggest Gorilli hack in history.
Honestly, that might even be good for marketing. But
That's true, yeah.
Wait, was that live? No, but
We didn't mean it. We didn't mean it.
that was a joke. But so kind of going for like that very low stakes test net, and then kind of opening up to a beta phase, where that would be on ETH mainnet post audit once we're confident there's no kind of attack vectors.
Right.
And then it's really about getting Curvance out there, like having people excited about it and testing it and seeing, it'll be incentivized, so it'll be kind of higher rewards than normal as a bit of incentive. But we're also trying to be thoughtful with that. We're very cognizant of like renegade capital, someone depositing $50 million, farming, the increased rewards, and then just dumping and leaving. So we're going to use, kind of like a call option model. So because everything's so modular, we're able to emit whatever token we want. Now, typically that'd be the Curvance token CVE, but in this, during the beta, it's going to be essentially a call option. And the idea with that is we can give larger rewards than what they typically would be, so there's larger incentive to join, but we don't want it to be a situation where it just becomes like APY in and out and then people farm the token and dump it. So essentially we could set a strike price that's reasonable, where if everyone is dumping the token, it really hurts the profitability of exercising those options. But it still incentivizes people to explore the protocol, benefit from the kind of capital efficiency and exploring what tech we've put together. And if they are excited about it, they could exercise those. They could choose to lock those tokens or hold them. And if it is successful, which obviously we hope it will be, it could be quite compelling for those early adopters.
That's awesome.
And once it kind of reaches that critical mass, and we're very confident in stuff, then we go for that official launch, which essentially will be the same market on Ethereum, but also deploying on Arbitrum and Optimism. And we are planning on ZK Sync as well later this year, as well as we are talking to other partners and exploring, because everything is very kind of easy to add or remove. So if there's a chain that's suddenly 6 months from now, like Synapse chain or whatever, that we really want to launch on, we could kind of socket on that chain and set up, okay, now you're going to also be relaying information in the next epoch. And then it's done. So instead of like a 6-month, like, oh man, we got to recode everything to get this live on a new chain, it's like, you know, I mean, obviously I don't want to jinx things, but, you know, it could be like a day of coding time and testing and all that to deploy on a new network, a new EVM network.
All right, the devs had a heart attack when they heard that. But, let's open up to Discord real quick and see if there's any questions for the crv team. So if you're on the Discord and you have a question, we're going to be turning the volume up and we'll be quiet for a second.
You guys can have it. Oh, sorry, it must be
Yeah. Not hearing any questions though, so. Oh, I guess they might have to wait for the delay because we don't have the audio piping through.
All right, well, we can
no
just
questions. So I'm just kind of curious because you've all been around ETHDenver for 3 days. What's the vibe been? What have you heard coming out of Denver? What are people excited about? What's the big trend? Amazing.
So one of the coolest things for this is, of course, like it's my first ETHDenver.
Oh, welcome.
Yeah, mine as well.
Yeah, so it's been really cool because we've been working with a lot of these guys for a year. You know, like never, you don't know what he looked like, or
Yeah, I mean,
like
some
that.
of the people we know, they're like a penguin online. So you're like, wait, you're that person?
It's super cool, and it's like you just go to these events, get to shake hands, you know, hug people, and we have crv dispensary joints. We've been you know, passing the good vibes around.
Yeah,
so
made some shirts as well.
Yeah, some shirts. So
That's legal in Denver. That's legal in
it's,
Denver.
it's Denver. It's you know, while here, you know, when in Rome. But yeah, it's been super nice. Great conversations. Like, we got to meet the Eigen team. That was like really cool for me because I've had so many people like over the last month send me the Eigen stuff. And they're like, you gotta check this out. And I haven't had time to really do the deep dive and like I listen to their talk and really like kind of start to
I'd say the
digest
joints
it.
be like the best swag for a party, but then everyone's gonna smoke it and forget where they got it from.
Well, that's why it says
It's got
Curvans
the
on it.
packages.
Yeah,
So
but once
they
you smoke it,
remember.
isn't it gone?
Well, no, it comes in a little tube.
Okay,
That has
okay.
like
Yeah,
our
you have to keep
branding
your track.
and the name.
Okay,
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. It's been really nice. And then of course meeting up with some friends like Zach Cakes. Zach Cakes, if you're watching, shout out to Zach. His vibes are amazing. He's been making a ton of intros for us as well. And just enjoying it. Went to the Milady rave last night. We got a hat. I don't even have a Milady.
I heard about the Milady
we we got in. I have a Milady hat. I'm sure the Milady holders are jealous of that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it pays to be early, right?
Yeah, basically early.
Yeah, no, it's been great. Like meeting all of our, partners, investors. It's just like it makes it all feel even more real, right? That like it's like Confluence, right? We've been working on this for so long now, and it's really been something where like you keep building stuff and putting it together, but like the end isn't necessarily in sight. And now we're kind of coming up on like actually being able to start integration tests and hooking stuff up to like new, like DApp and having people excited about it. It's honestly like really, it makes us even more driven to really like build the best thing we can.
Yeah, I'm always amazed when I come to these things because I always assume crypto's like the same 10 people because I'm basically in the same chat groups over and over and over again. There's some cabbies were saying 20,000 people are here, which is wild.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The cabbies aren't saying they
I've
picked up
heard-
people for the Bruce Springsteen concert. They're saying everyone's here for ETHDenver.
I've heard it's like over 10,000, but it's like definitely a lot of people.
It's amazing. It's like when I came last year, I got to talk to more people, and like no one was into DeFi last year. Everyone was like I talked to was like an NFT person.
Yeah.
So like it also amazes me just how big Ethereum is, right?
Yeah.
Like it's all these many like different people. Like there's a DAO subculture of Ethereum. There's an NFT subculture. It's just
Well,
wild.
one thing that I heard recently that really put everything in perspective, and it's almost kind of the opposite. And I don't know if this is the actual numbers, just estimated numbers, but there's about 23,000 developers currently in crypto. That was the number I heard. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But even if it's 50% higher than that, even if it's double that, you look at like compare that to a tech giant like Facebook, Meta, whatever you want to call them, or Google. Like those companies have more developers than all of crypto. That's like insane to think about. That like one company is now bigger than an entire industry, like $1 trillion industry. So it really kind of to me shows that like this really hasn't hit that like parabolic growth yet. In terms of like, kind of like developers coming in. And I think there's a lot of cool things that, we could do to improve that, like supporting additional languages, like Arbitrum's working on, supporting different, languages rather than just Solidity, Viper, Dual, these different types of things. Like if we could get, Java and Rust and these different developers, that there's millions of them, it becomes a much larger audience of potential builders. And then it's just about kind of showing them why, this is compelling and why it's interesting and why it's going to change a lot of things.
Yeah. Keeping the ethos intact. That's
Right,
important.
right.
Yeah, I mean, like I hear you. Well, I mean, I guess like I totally agree with you because but come on, man, like look around, and anyone who thinks that we're in parabolic growth has just like been here too long.
Yeah.
Like, come on, like this stuff is so irrelevant outside of like the people
It's
who
still
are
a
already
niche.
invested in like already has so much money on the line, and so like I don't know, I'm every day I'm more and more bullish ETH, and it's because like. What my experience here was again meeting like all these like real TradFi guys and like learning about all of this stuff that was happening that like I had no idea about, and like for me what that shows is like like we run in some of the same circles. Like I thought I was connected. I thought I understand what finance on chain meant, and just to hear that like, oh yeah, they do billions of dollars a day in reverse repo. You didn't know that? Was just like, oh my god, my god. And so like that, like I was very just again humbled by like the amount I didn't know. But to your point about like how much further we have to go, like my favorite like little analogy is that like imagine it's like 2005 or whatever, and you're at Harvard, and I offer you $10 billion, and Mark Zuckerberg's going to work for you, and you're going to go build Facebook. I'll give you the plans, but HTTP is not done yet. All it can do is send one emoji at a time. How are you going to build it?
Right.
That's where we are with Ethereum, right? Like Ethereum sucks. It's so slow, it's so expensive, and like more importantly, like to enter in, this. Are you a smart contract, Griff?
Nope.
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to enter into the EVM, and like especially for capital enter into the EVM, is like such a fucking process.
Yes.
It has to go like nobody's running a node. Like I am because like I'm a believer, but like nobody's running a node, and so it's going to like infra, which like totally destroys all of the decentralization we were building in the first
like
place.
the epitome of centralized.
Yeah, and it's just like none of it, like all of this is like a little bit of a joke today.
Well, it has very like large guardrails. You see that with rollups, right? Like technically no
come on,
current
rollups aren't real. There's
there's no real roll.
No,
like what do they call
Arbitrum-
like stage 0 rollups
Whatever.
or
I mean, like they're all just permission. They're complete.
Yeah,
They're
they're all, like,
literally
single
exactly the same as
sequencers.
Polygon, if not worse. Right? At least Polygon is running it on different computers. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. But then you look at the Ethereum roadmap, right? And you look at like Danksharding.
Yeah,
And
like,
you look
yeah.
at light clients, and you look at like just like this ease of access where like your MetaMask can directly access the EVM without like any third party. Like I see a world where like container ships, each container has like an identity, and like traders can like swap container ships in transit between China and the US, right? Or like a world where like our cars have identity, and because that we know that like our driverless cars have like the same kind of AI, they can get this close to each other driving 200 miles an hour.
Right.
Or like, I mean, like anything. Like this is like the Internet of Things. Like this is how it happens. Like sensors in the North Pole that are like monitoring climate change, right? Like posting data on chain via eigenlayer. Like, and so obviously we're not in the parabolic stage because like literally all you can build is like more and more loops on curve right now.
Yeah.
I don't mean to take that away from you, but like that, if that's the point of Ethereum, then like I'm out.
Well, it's multiple points, right? Like dApps are one service.
It's
of
what's
Ethereum,
possible
right?
today.
You're selling security at the end of the day. So, So there's plenty of use cases, and DeFi is definitely one that very passionate about. I think it has the potential to unlock a lot of underserved individuals, or even we were using an example. I can't remember when we were talking about it, but basically like other countries, right? Like you see, like in Vietnam, for example, right? Like it's okay. Do you go work at this coffee shop, or do you learn how to code with all the free resources available? Get involved in some projects,
like
and
digital economy.
Make awesome money, right? Like it's great, and it's that kind of unlocks that opportunity, not only for the developers but just the participants in general, right? Like you can just kind of bounce around, use these dApps, get one airdrop, and it's life changing for many people, and that's
It
exciting.
doesn't really come around that much. not often anymore, do they?
Not much anymore.
Yeah.
But, it's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, man, I agree. I mean, I don't mean to take away anything from. I'm just saying, like, there's so much more to come.
Well, yeah, you know, I think to me it's mostly about the writing on the wall, right? Like everyone is so like, you know, kind of hooked up to technology at this point. You look at like how ubiquitous phones are, how much time, like the ever increasing amount of time we spend on a computer, right? And it just kind of like you look at like what crypto kind of unlocks with these kind of like digital identities and kind of like just like more freedom in terms of actions, like in a global sense, right? Like kind of a lot of, like Mike was saying, right? Like now you could be in a country that, you know, has like some certain standard of living and now like join a community where like it's like a even playing field.
Yeah, I think that, so when Obama signed the nuclear deal in 2015, I was in Budapest, and I was on the first train of Americans into Iran, and currently my fiance was born in Russia, lived there for 15 years, her whole family still lives there. She came here because she knew she wanted to be a doctor and like study in the US to be a doctor. And just so like, there's so much about just like just sending Ethereum that is like incredibly powerful that like to your point, like us Americans like just can't understand, right? And I think like for me, I don't know about you guys, right? And like I'm not, no politics, this is not what this is about, but like I watched January 6th, and my first thought was, by the time the next election happens, this is before I was in crypto, I need to own property in another country. Because, like, I don't really know what could happen here. And then I found crypto, and I'm okay now. But, like, you know, like, I just, what I see is, like, the world's falling apart. And if you're not American, pick your country, because it's falling apart, too. And, like, I see that as just, like, in a long arc of human history, we were like monkeys 40,000 years ago. Like, we did like
seen in 2001 where they're at the monolith hitting with the bone.
And then it was like, you know, like savage dictators like the Assyrians, and then like democracy, the Greeks, Romans, and like over time, like more and more, like look how many people are here that have access to like clean water and health and like love and fun and technology, and so like things are like definitely falling apart. But like when I see crypto, I also see like this is how we get to a post nation state world.
Well,
It's how we coordinate post like this shit that's not working.
Yeah, well, I think you definitely can make the argument for a lot of that stuff, but I also see the world changing in a lot of different other ways, like around AI and crypto. Like, you know, and this could be like a 40-minute, you know, like I could talk for 40 minutes on this, which I won't. But, you know, like you see the developments with AI, like things like ChatGPT, where it's like now I can document my code 50 times faster, like do NAT spec with ChatGPT than just manually like this is the input and this is what it returns, where it just parses everything. You look at like the, you know, incredible amount of like development with AI art, with, you know, all these different things that like are very quickly changing the world, like even the digital identity, like, you know, that we see in crypto. Like I think the world, and I agree, I think the world 20 years from now is going to be like you know, like unbelievably different.
I mean, think about it 20 years ago.
Yeah, yeah, and you know, whether I do think we have strife on the horizon, you know, globally, for a whole, you know, wave of different reasons. But you know, I do think there's a lot of like positives in terms of like new things that are becoming available, and I think, you know, you could point out a lot of things like, you know, people being displaced job-wise for AI, or, you know, like whatever, like climate stuff or any of these things. But, you know, humans are really good at adapting, and, you know, I think we'll bounce back, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I read somewhere, so this is so stupid because I can't cite it, but like there's something about like the Western like sense of capitalism and democracy that always needs to feel like it's at an existential threat. And like, and, you know, it's like the Cold War and like climate change has always been there, and this, and so like part of me wonders, is like, this is what it means to live in like a world where we have access to information, that it always feels on the precipice of disaster.
Well, I think it's also too the negative bias that a lot, like people are always going to be more likely to click on an article or something like that says like the world is ending than the world is amazing.
Yeah, you said you didn't want to talk about politics, but I was talking with a political organizer about a year ago,
Uh-oh.
and well, they basically said just that. They said that the only way to motivate people is anger. right? Like you don't motivate people with like they say like these like nice heartfelt speeches, but the only reason people open up their checkbook is if they're outraged in the moment.
I mean, that's so true, though.
And now we have so many more like ability to weaponize that outrage, so everyone's just getting like worked up about everything. So it's kind of crazy right now.
How many bunkers do you guys own?
Not enough.
Yeah, not enough. Yeah, that's the right answer.
Northwestern Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
We have one.
Yeah.
Western Pennsylvania. All right, so a nuclear bomb started dropping. I'm coming to Western Pennsylvania.
I'm gonna have to
digging
drive
holes.
from Texas all the way. So it's gonna be a challenge.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I don't know. What do you?
Yeah, I was gonna see if anyone else wanted to hop in because
for
you guys
sure.
have been here for. Not mean.
Do you want me
No,
to?
no, of
Do you
course.
want me to see if the guys are here?
Yeah, go ahead and just give
I'll
a
go see
quick
if the guys
shout
I
and see if
tried to
anyone
bring
wants to
here.
join. I mean, not to the like.
No, we have to head to the main event anyway.
Oh, you have to leave anyway. All right.
So,
Yeah.
but
Well,
I'm
hang
gonna-
out with me for 1 minute so I don't look super lonely while I'm
No, I was actually gonna say thank you for hosting. This is super cool.
Yeah, this
Oh,
has
this has
been
been a
great.
blast. Yeah, I've had a really good time. Come on in. Come on in.
How's it going, sir?
Grab a seat.
Guys, how are you?
Doing good, doing good. Tell the stream, who are you? What do you do?
This is Haym from Silo Finance, co-founder of Silo.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Big fan of Silo, so glad you could make it out here. Yeah.
Yeah, we wanted to come over here and say hi.
Well, thank
to
you.
in specific. We're a avid fan. I was telling the friends that every morning I check my email, newsletter, I read it, and especially over the weekend I want to disconnect. I don't want to hear anything about crypto, and then you send the email in the morning, and it's like okay, pulling me back to.
You're in the wrong
Doesn't
place
last
to not
long,
hear
yeah.
about crypto.
Yeah. I mean,
It's really hard to unplug. Yeah, definitely. I always find that it's like with so much stuff like going on, there's so much noise. It's hard to kind of unplug and kind of like just
The 24/7
rechargeable.
aspect of crypto is one of its best and worst aspects at the same time. It's this double-edged
Definitely.
sword. Disclaimer: I have investments in your protocol, but could you tell people a bit about what Silo is, what it does?
Yeah, Silo, we do isolated lending. So in the traditional lending protocols, you have all the tokens housed in one big smart contract. So any exploit into one token kind of like creates this contagion that spreads across the protocol. What we do, we kind of flip that model upside down. We do isolated, so every token gets its own market, its own smart contract. So you're always exposed to the risk of that single market. And each market in Silo has actually 3 assets only. So we launched last September, still very new. We're in Arbitrum now, so Ethereum and Arbitrum. So we're super excited.
And it came out of a hackathon, right?
Yeah, so 2021, we went into the hackathon, we won the hackathon, and then we did the token auction. We didn't go the VC route, we just sold the token in a fair auction, and we launched in August 2022. We're about 18 people right now. We're
UVC road or?
It's a combination.
Yeah, it's
so-
like an half and half. We have like a lot of DAOs that are very excited about kind of like tapping into the potential there, so they want an allocation, as well as we have a few smaller VCs. There's no we didn't really want any like gigantic rounds like Paradigm, Jump, like those they write a bajillion-dollar check and your tokenomics are kind of
The
really
biggest
messy.
VC check's 125K.
Oh wow.
So it's like
They're not going to have substantial control.
Yeah,
Correct.
And
Things.
we,
And
it's
that's the
it's
goal.
by design, right? We have a lot of angels as well, like a lot of
Yeah.
people just in the community around, which is of course
Nice,
better.
nice.
But
Because Curve is famously anti-VC,
Of course,
but I
yeah,
mean,
of
I
course.
was hoping we could maybe get a debate going. But let's go ahead and just dump on VCs and talk about how awful they are, right?
Well,
I'm
I think
actually
it
interested in
depends.
the-
Like if you have a lot of synergies with them, like maybe they. It really depends how they go about things, right? There's definitely at the end of the day they're trying to make money, which
Right.
I can't fault them at all. But I think if you have good alignment, we've had some VCs that like some of these smaller like checks and stuff where they're actually excited about engaging and stuff and connecting us with different parties, different protocols and stuff like that, and that's been helpful, right? But we're definitely not like trying to like cash out on like, oh, we got like this giant check, isn't that great? Because really the goal is we want like tokens in the hands of people that are gonna like use them like in how kind of like the different ways that, you know, like we want to reward people, like, you know, attracting liquidity or capital efficiency, or like kind of bootstrapping interest of, you know, if you're launching on a new chain, now you could take your tokens on one chain and incentivize on that new chain, right? Like these are things that I think are going to be really helpful to different protocols, and that's who we really want to like benefit from like that early allocation and you know, going on that ride with us, that journey.
So having talked more with VCs, I'm kind of curious, because in 2022, I feel like the biggest winners were crypto lawyers, the biggest losers were crypto VCs.
Yeah.
It seems like they all got wiped out, but like in your conversations, there's still some
So
around?
it depends on the fund, right? We are primarily talking to smaller funds, like a group like Dialectic, great people, right? And they deploy capital like into the actual stuff that they invest in. So groups like that, really, where they're kind of like really DeFi native, like they understand the stuff, they use this stuff, and they might deploy checks here and there. But again, we're not allowing like a single group to be a lead of any type of round. Like it's very distributed. But I am interested in the actual auction model, right? Like we've considered possibly doing like an LVP, right? Like pre-launch or something, instead of, we have like 800,000 or so to still fill in the actual seed. So I'm thinking maybe we just carry that over and do an LVP auction.
Yeah, that's we've considered LBP, and we ended up doing Gnosis token batch auction.
Okay.
It's kind of reverse Dutch auction. Very complicated to communicate to users because there's no instant kind of like filling. You're not filling the order instantly. You're waiting until the end of the auction, and then you can settle the price also in a weird way. The last order at which point you would sell the 800,000 would determine the price for everyone else. So it would end up everyone buying at a single price. Would be good for if you're launching a token for the first time, but in your case probably would be perfect actually. LVP would be phenomenal.
Yeah, if we go that route, I would love to do some like neat stuff. Like one of the things we were talking about was basically handling that LVP in an omni-chain way. So with ETH being our like canonical chain, I actually built a few months ago like a way to basically pay for stuff from any chain. So, you know, one of the things we could do there is like if you have, you know, USDC or whatever on Arbitrum, you know, you could take that and then go and participate in like what would be on ETH, and it just basically bridges it, and then, you know, it's an end.
You would be giving a perfect UX for the user to participate because
UX is definitely something, and that's one of the biggest things when people ask us like, you know, okay, when are you exactly launching? It's less so like thinking about like, okay, does stuff work? Is the code done? Because I think that's like, we have a very clear, like we're adding the finishing touches, like, oh, we want to like have native zapping and these different types of things. But for the most part, the biggest thing is like, there's a lot going on, so we need really clear UI UX. Because if it's just like a typical, you know, like, hey, it's just a box with numbers in it, like I think that can be kind of hard for people. Like people look at it and they're like, I don't know what's going on, I don't want to touch this. But if we can have like, you know, like very clear, you know, communication of what's going on, what you can and can't do, you know, what you're kind of like opting into, I think that's gonna, you know, potentially bring a lot of users in that otherwise would be turned off by just super complicated DeFi protocols.
Yeah. Well,
People are, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's a pleasure meeting you. I followed Tyler for a while. It's really cool.
appreciate it. Pleasure is mine.
I think we can step out.
If you want to
just
step
get
out quick, see if
Yeah.
anyone wants to pop in. If not, you're welcome to pop back in.
For sure. Yeah, appreciate it.
Can I add something that
Please.
we're releasing soon
Yeah.
related to the Curve community?
Thanks for having us on.
Thank you for coming. Really appreciate it.
All right. Well, nice to meet you. We just wrapped up a big audit with Chain Security. We're launching silos for Curve LP tokens.
Oh, no way.
Where Curve LP token depositor will be borrowing stablecoin. And then you wouldn't miss on any rewards from Complex at the same time.
Oh, interesting.
So you're just earning everything from Complex, and on top of it, you're leveraging by borrowing a stablecoin.
Oh, that's amazing. Wait, where's the fees in it? What money do you make off of it?
When you borrow our stablecoin, we just charge you like a fee. It's actually kind of a dynamic fee. It's kind of like a curve, a regular interest curve.
Oh, that's amazing.
So yeah, that would be great. So the release is going to be audited. Super nice. So for example, you would have a three-curve silo, and you would just leverage by borrowing our stablecoin.
That's amazing.
Still earn we would deposit on your behalf on Convex. We don't charge any fees, so you still take all this curve rewards.
That's amazing.
Curve Convex
Yeah.
rewards, and then we just leverage by borrowing stablecoin.
That's great. That's great. When's that roughly going to be released?
Hopefully in the next, I would say, 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks.
2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'll definitely be on the lookout for that.
Done, audited, and all. We're just waiting for the information security, and we're just ready.
Now, I never announce my newsletter topics in advance, but you're going to check your inbox one morning and you're going to find that that's probably the subject. Maybe.
We'll let you know even before. Absolutely.
Hey,
Welcome back.
all right, what are we talking about?
We were talking about Silo Finance's Alpha League.
Rex.
I have.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Okay, Silo Finance. I love it. What's the alpha?
The Alpha League, they're launching a new product based on Curve in the next couple weeks.
So yeah, you'd be able to borrow against your Curve LP tokens, and you would still be earning all the rewards from Complex.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. And
If anyone wants to grab a seat, open seat.
no.
Keep going.
I think the guy from Reserve is coming, but he just got distracted.
Oh yeah.
The Curve
The real party's over there.
Yeah.
Who's watching? This is like the side of the party where the wallflowers hang out.
No, nice. Sorry. Yeah, I don't have much to say other than jump. I mean, I'm a big fan of Silo Finance. I understand isolated lending markets, but
What are you working on?
well, right now I actually I'm here with a co-founder for we're raising money for nothing DeFi related at all. It's actually ZK Tech as a Service. Essentially, like Twilio, or the idea is to abstract away all of the advanced difficult parts of elliptic curve cryptography, and then give it an interface that developers are familiar with, right? So inputs, outputs, and then suddenly you can create a zero knowledge application.
Right. That's supposed to be the big trend this year, right?
Yeah,
VCs
I know.
are just supposed to be opening their checkbooks for ZKs.
That's what they tell me, but
But they're not opening their checkbooks?
No.
What's going on?
Honestly, it's been going really well. We've been in this fundraising process for almost a month, so it's still pretty early. And ETHDenver is a real accelerator for sure. I mean, the amount of just people that I met that at least say they're interested are.
That's a good beginning.
Yeah.
You missed the conversation we're having about VCs. I'm just curious to hear because I feel like a lot of VCs got wiped out in 2022, and I've seen some stats saying they're not writing as many checks, especially the crypto ones.
So first of all, I definitely think that there is more scrutiny, and you can probably not necessarily you probably can't get away with raising $4 million at a $50 million valuation to do DeFi bonds, right? I think now it's much more they're looking for good ideas and trying to see real results and that kind of thing. But the idea that the money's dried up is just so wrong. All of these funds were committed to long before any of these MS blew up, and the big thing, the one again I mentioned earlier before you got here that I met a lot of guys that are more on the TradFi side,
right? And
one of the guys said oh, have you talked to Jump yet? And my response, because in our circles we talk about, oh, is Jump even doing anything? And he laughed at me. He's of course, man, they have billions of dollars. Do you think they just stopped?
Yeah.
And so
you gotta do something with it, right?
Yeah, and they basically if you raise a fund for $1 billion, which is not that big for, I mean it's big, but it's not that big for VC funds, you have to deploy it. You don't give it back. That, you'll never raise a fund again if you give it back.
Right.
Worst case scenario, I guess you could park it in ETH, right? But I don't, the idea that people aren't writing checks is wrong.
Right.
They're just it's less exuberant and less joy, just well, that sounds like a good idea. Here's $1 million, so I don't know. That's what I have to say. Do you agree? Disagree?
They're doing token auction.
Oh yeah, that's a whole different.
We did a token auction, and we ended up having a couple of VCs
join the token auction. Yeah.
I think the only one that I'm aware of, connected very closely, work with them actually very closely, is Electric Capital. Electric also invested in, I think, in Frax, Tokamak, Mir, and so many good projects. I think I don't think the traditional VCs are actually led by engineers. So it's kind of they deploy the money really probably in a super smart way.
Yeah.
We had dinner last night with them, and a lot of the projects they invested in. You can see the caliber of people that invest in is pretty good. So one of the VCs actually came out of the kind of the last market crash kind of really in a leadership position because probably they picked good projects and did really well. I think they have a clear thesis. They published the developer report, actually it was super interesting. I think everyone has to read it. It's kind of got like this status of the entire blockchain and who's developing and the size of the developer communities, like by project and where they're located, and all this is super nice. I think, I think definitely VCs are the ones that survive. They've gotten much better at deploying their funds. I think it's also very tough for them.
Yeah. So do you think it's because they're more developer focused that they're doing better? Like maybe the dev focused VCs had like a strategic advantage over the ones that just were like, no offense to us business school graduates,
No, and also because they have probably some thesis when it comes to they're based in they've probably invested a lot of money in Silicon Valley, so they know kind of like where to look at the teams and I think they seem to have at least outside a clear thesis when it comes to investment. So there's some funds that just ape into projects like blindly and usually probably would just get a token, dump it, and move on.
Right.
I mean, there a lot of VCs that are leading today. One of them is probably Electric Capital. It seems that they kind of look long term, very long term. They're long term actually on the entire ecosystem.
Right.
They're very bullish. So that's why to them, like, if even the project seems sometimes super interesting, but they might not even put money in it because it's simply it seems that does not fit all does not check all the boxes. I think maybe there's a factor that it's led by engineers. Sure.
You're a developer yourself?
No, I'm on the growth side. So
Okay.
data, economics, and marketing.
And you don't develop, right?
I mean, I like study computer science.
You write these lengthy threads on Twitter about, but you're at Stanford, so I'm assuming you just like delegate the development work to.
No, I mean, I study computer science, and like I never like thought that that's what I wanted to do. It's just like the first time I got homework that I was like, excited to do, and then I graduated in 2013, so. Within my class was Evan Spiegel. He graduated in 2012, who's founded Snapchat.
Right.
And the founders of Alchemy were in that class as well. And so just every conversation, the vibe, everything was about this like super like entrepreneurship, like almost cartoonish. And like the way I always say it is like you meet someone like what do you do, right? And they go, oh, I'm working on technology that changes like our ocular reception of the way that we process emotion so that helps us live a more fulfilling. And I'm like, sorry, what do you do? Like, I build filters for Instagram. And like for me, like it's so ironic that I'm here back in this space because like we talk like Moon Boys, but like for me, I just like for whatever reason couldn't like stomach that, and so that's how I ended up. Like the day after graduation, I got in the car and drove to St. Louis, where my first job was at Anheuser-Busch. I worked there for 5 years, like doing like tech innovation for a hot minute, but then like I moved into finance, and like that's where I learned like the way the world works.
Right. I'm curious, what's your thesis behind crypto? Like, what brought you in the crypto space? Like, and what do you think it's going in the next 5-10 years?
Honestly, it was the Ethereum white paper.
Yeah.
I just believed in it. I kind of like the power of decentralization. I believe in the future of a human is a sovereign human. And I think a lot of the work that needs to be done by the human itself, as far as liberating yourself from lots of issues that you've had in your life, but also there are external factors, like who's controlling you. There's obviously a lot of forces in society, expectation, governments, and one of them, obviously, one of the tools that being used in controlling things is money.
Right.
And crypto solved that problem because, I mean, at least that's the vision. And so I felt like the sovereign human needs also means to have their own money.
Yeah.
That's really what brought me in crypto back in, I think it was late 2015.
No, 2015 is not late.
Yeah.
I was 2014. I feel late, but no. There's still people I meet. They're like, I got in 2021.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. So long term, I'm honestly, I don't know what to tell you. I feel like right now we're at this crossroads. if there's the governments obviously have a strong stance against it, and we're fighting obviously peacefully for to have this freedom over ascribing value to what really we believe in, and practice that right. If you look at the history, people eventually win, but that might take a long time. But meanwhile, there'll be a lot of losses. Right now, for example, we're here in the States, and unfortunately, kind of a bit regressive when it comes to kind of,
It is, but I think it could turn on a dime.
It can, yes, I hope so.
I hope so too. I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
we're seeing developers fleeing the United States, which is not a wise move if you want to guarantee long-term survival for your nation. So I think at some point they're going to realize. But
but so I'm definitely, I'm not as optimistic as I should be, but I believe that we have definitely have this future. We're trying our best, all of us. That's important.
do you think everyone's capable of being a sovereign individual?
If not by external tools.
Real quick, before anyone want hop in the hot seat before we wind down?
Yes, but this freedom first. There's internal freedom that needs to be worked on, and then definitely there are external factors. But those external factors, even if you live in the most democratic society, and even if you have control over money, everything in life, but you're still not free to make your own choices, you're not going to be sovereign.
Right.
So it's a lot of work, external and internal.
Really good points, and I want to dive into a lot more of them. But real quick, new guest, introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Tom. I work for a company called Rain. We do a stablecoin collateralized credit card
Oh, interesting.
for DAOs and Web3 orgs.
Nice. That's awesome. Where do I sign up?
Raincards.xyz.
And is it legal, or am I going to get rejected every time I go out and try to use it at the store?
No, it's fully legal. So we work with Visa and a couple other financial partners to
Oh, very
make sure
cool.
that we're all above board in the US.
Very cool. Very cool. Can you talk a bit about how that infrastructure looks like on the back end to make it all work?
Yeah, exactly. So it's sort of like a decentralized lending protocol. So you're locking your stable coins in a smart contract, and then we're giving you a credit line off-chain on the Visa network through our card program. And we have a web application that lets you manage spending limits, virtual cards. You can also get physical cards ordered through that platform too.
So we might be able to actually get people who are used to swiping credit cards on board in cryptocurrency soon.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the idea.
Can you sign up as an individual?
So right now it's a corporate product, so
Yeah.
it's more for DAOs, like Web3 startups, stuff like that.
All right, well, let's just make a DAO of I want this credit card.
Definitely give it a shot.
Yeah.
That's excellent. So what's your crypto thesis? How do you get into crypto, and what's your long-term outlook for it?
While you're still around.
While you're still around after this.
Why am I still here? Yeah, so I guess I started to dabble into more of the investment side back in 2017, 2015, sometime back then. Just opening a Coinbase account. Didn't really start getting into kind of the nuts and bolts of building and sort of self-custody until 2021. But yeah, I had a few friends in the space who were always posting stuff on Twitter. Just kind of got curious about what all this crazy new crypto stuff was. But yeah, from there kind of did a little bit of research. Looked into how stable coins work. Kind of went through the whole Terra Luna thing. All sorts of witnessed a lot of the craziness with that. But then also kind of saw what kind of the U.S. government is doing in terms of how they're handling crypto and how they're also not handling crypto. And part of the opportunity that we see at Rain is sort of building in a way that navigates the regulation so that we're still building adoption, but we're not going against the U.S. government.
Do you think the U.S. government will still go against you? Because they're kind of on a rampage lately.
Yeah, it's tough. Yeah, so what we found is that a lot of the banks are getting really skittish because the U.S. government hasn't really given clear rules, especially with the SEC. they're really bad about giving clear rules about what's a security, like what exactly are the rules that tokens need to stick with. And Coinbase has been very vocal about like not getting clear guidelines that way. But yeah, I guess like from our perspective, we're trying to support a lot of the teams that are otherwise getting debanked by the more traditional banks that have their own rules about not supporting crypto companies just because of like what they hear about the space and like the risks that they perceive.
Yeah, in a second I'd like to open it up to like another round. We'll try round 2 of people on Discord asking questions, but I realize since they can't hear us on Discord, we have to wait like a few seconds for them to figure that out on YouTube. So we will be hearing from Discord questions in a second if you have your phone handy and can turn that back on. But yeah, in the meantime, like I've been talking to a lot of the cabbies here because I haven't gotten to see that many events, and just asking them. I've been to like, so like you read in the news that like cryptocurrency is full of all these like thieves and like scammers and everything. What's your impression been of the people that you've just met driving them around? And they've all had like pretty positive impressions, thankfully, and most said that they didn't really believe all that. So hopefully like that kind of weird narrative is not actually like penetrating the mainstream, but I don't know.
I mean, I think it's like everything in the way humans work is that like if you don't understand it and you just hear about it and only hear bad things about it, it's like scary and evil. And then like I have the same experience with cab drivers, but I think it's because they're like driving us around all day and like like
Make
people
sure to
are
tip.
like
Make sure to
normal.
tip.
But like people are normal and like no one people who like think like crypto is this like shady like drug dealer thing. Can't possibly stand and look around at all this nerds and think like something bad is happening here.
I talked to the security guard at the Chainlink event last night. That's what he said. He's worked like 3 events. It's like the easiest crowd he's had to work with.
I know,
right?
like everyone's like so polite. Like so many people like switch to water at like 9 p.m. Like what is that about? No man, I just think that like I think you're totally right, and I think that we were talking earlier with the crv guys. Like we're like we're so early, and part of that is just like people don't even understand it or use this or see this, and like I don't blame anyone for thinking that this is a scam when literally all you've heard about is in the last year SBF, wormhole hack, Terra Luna, 3 Arrows Capital, the Tornado Cash, like North Korea was involved in all sorts of stuff, like like
the MIM stuff. Like,
if I wasn't in this space and like talking to you guys and building and like really understanding what was going on, like I would think that this is a scam.
Yeah, it's rough because like it can only take like 1 or 2%, but because crypto takes everyone, that 1 or 2% have like outsized influence. Let's go ahead and turn on the. We'll be quiet here and see.
Better positive stories.
Anyone on Discord, please talk. All right, looks like we scared away all the Discord people.
All right, wait. K-Met. Who else isn't? Monero.
Man, all stars.
Yeah.
And they're protesting us because we didn't let them join the conversation. It's just the audio setup is very difficult here. But,
all right, well, whatever. We're talking.
We're talking, so that's good enough. That's good enough. We probably should be winding it up soon because we only had the space till 20 minutes ago. But whatever.
Okay.
Permission.
All right. Well, what do you want us to?
Yeah, parting thoughts, I guess. Like takeaways from ETHDenver, like things you're excited about for the like upcoming year in crypto.
Yeah, I'm impressed. I think innovation, like just going into this conference and seeing things and coming in touch with this innovations left and right. I think we're really in a good spot. I mean, developing every kind of technology stack you can imagine. People excited about crypto. I think that's really exciting. It gives us kind of a push to go back to our computers and keep shipping. I think we just need to be resilient. I think I'm personally very excited about this space getting bigger, more collaborative actually, more accepting, and I think we just need to get better at communicating who we are and what we represent. And this is how we kind of like fight that bad like narrative about crypto. But I'm personally really excited about it.
Yeah. I mean, I think as we talked about earlier, like this is my first cycle and like until like 2023, like my cost basis for ETH was like somewhere between 3,900 and 400, right? And like all I can think about these days is just like how grateful I am that like we all had to pay our lesson, right? Like to enter this space, to stick around, you all had to eat shit on the first cycle. And like I just feel so grateful that this is my first cycle. Like there's so much, like you take CoinGecko off the phone and like you wouldn't even know that like bad things are happening because like the tech is getting more and more impressive at an accelerated rate. Like the people are getting more and more like bought in and interesting, and like more people, like it's just like how can you call this a bear market on anything else other than like charts? And so I just feel grateful.
Yeah, it helps that the rest of the world also took a haircut at the same
Yeah,
time.
I know. But that's also why we took a haircut.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
like,
The value of $1 is different in 2022 and 21. Anyway,
I guess sort of to complement what you were saying, I guess like my big takeaway is, now that we're sort of like on the downslope of the cycle now, a lot of the speculation has kind of moved elsewhere. So it's nice to really see people that are, building things in the space that are interesting, new. It's not, another fork of like a DeFi protocol from like, like think back to like Olympus DAO and all the sorts of forks of that came out. There's like less of that sort of action going on. People that are really thinking thoughtfully about tools to improve the way that we move money, the way that we sort of self-custody.
Yeah, I think that like DeFi at its worst is when people just launch a token and people ape in because it's offering 5 million% APY for 2 weeks. And that's not DeFi. I feel like what you're building is like much more meaningful, like innovations on the space layer.
no, he's doing what I like to call the Lord's work, which is like taking this stuff that we so enjoy on chain and like making it touch the real world.
Yeah.
Right. And like I don't think that like I think yeah, man, you're doing like the things that we need to like solve all these problems and just like make this stuff matter,
Yeah.
And I think it's maybe like 1 to 5 years away, but I think we're going to start to see like TradFi entirely move on chain. And I'm optimistic it could happen this year. Probably not with all the regulatory stuff, but it's going to happen. And TradFi, as we know it, will I think become obsoleted, just because.
I think what's something that displaced another technology? Like
The car and the horse buggy, right?
do we not have horses?
We still have horses.
Right, like
They still will exist.
That's a bad example, but like
No,
when these new technologies come up, it doesn't like remove the
Agreed.
last ecosystem. It like creates more. Like that's how growth happens.
There's a really good book by Walt Kelly called "What Technology Wants,"
Yeah.
and he has like this kind of like sort of out there thing saying that technology is an organism in and of itself. But one of the point, which is like talk
I
about
like
that for
it.
hours,
Yeah.
but one of the points he makes in the book is that no technology ever goes away.
Yeah.
It might be diminished, but to figure this out, he like looked at a magazine from 100 years ago,
Yeah.
and was like looking at all the like products that were like brand new, and it was
Yeah.
like revolutionary like ox like yoke or something
Yeah.
that had like 5% greater strength.
Yeah.
And he looked around and was able to find in magazines you could still buy all these products. They're still in use.
Yeah,
They
or-
sell 100 per year as
Yeah.
opposed to like back in the day.
Or just more importantly, like the humanity is a single organism that like we like put our resources towards like the things that need to get done, and like as new technologies displace the old ones, like people don't disappear; they like work on the new stuff.
Right, and all these things do stack
Yeah.
and do improve things.
Yeah.
So I shouldn't say that TradFi is going obsolete, but I think
Yeah.
it will get subsumed in
Yeah.
some level within DeFi.
Yeah, and I think new things can be built out of DeFi that will
Right.
challenge old.
And you're going to start to see that like we can start using DeFi to build atop like TradFi as the base layers.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
Like I had a big conversation with Klima DAO last night. Like once people start building like Ponzi's on top of climate tokens and whatnot, like, it's gonna get crazy. So anyway, optimistic stuff. Any parting thoughts or?
No, thank you, man. Thank you so much for
sure.
hosting us.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you all for joining us. And